They said it was just business. But to Emily, it felt like betrayal. It started with a single message. HR wants to see you. Now. No explanation. No warning. Just those cold words flashing on her screen. Her hands trembled as she locked her computer. The walk down that hallway felt like 1,000 miles. 5 years. 5 years of loyalty, of sacrifices, of late nights and early mornings. 5 years of building dreams in this very office. And now, it all felt like a trap closing in. When she entered the room, the silence was louder than any words. 3 people sat there. No smiles. No warmth. Just a single folder on the table with her name on it. Emily, this isn't working out. That's all they said. Like her life was nothing more than a bad sentence in a report. No second chances. No real reason. Just. You're done here. Her heart pounded so hard it hurt. She wanted to ask why. She wanted to scream. But all she could do was nod. Her throat felt tight, like the words were trapped inside her. They slid the paper toward her. Termination notice. One signature, and 5 years of her life would vanish like they never existed. Her fingers shook as she signed. But inside? She wasn't broken. Not yet. She felt something else rising, something sharper than pain. Something stronger than shame. When she stepped out of that room, everything felt different. The walls that once felt safe now closed in like a prison. She could feel their eyes on her, co-workers pretending to type, pretending they didn't notice. But she saw the smirks. She heard the whispers. She had it coming. Guess hard work isn't enough after all. Every word cut deep, but Emily didn't let them see her bleed. She walked to her desk, every step heavier than the last. She packed her life into a cardboard box, a family photo, her favorite coffee mug, a diploma that once made her proud. Each item felt like a broken promise. When she finally walked out, the air outside hit her like a storm. Rain poured down, soaking her hair, her clothes, her tears. People rushed past her, umbrellas in hand, but she had nothing. Nothing, except a box of memories and a heart full of questions. But as she stood there on that sidewalk, something inside her shifted. She looked up at the gray sky and whispered to herself. This is not the end. This is where I start over. They thought they broke her. They thought she would disappear. But Emily? She wasn't done yet. Not even close. What happened next, no one saw coming. Emily didn't sleep that night. She sat on her tiny couch, staring at the box from her desk like it held all her broken dreams. The rain still tapped on the windows, and the city outside didn't care about her pain. Her thoughts were heavy, dark, relentless. What now? Who am I without that job? How do I start over when I have nothing? Bills stacked on the kitchen counter like silent threats. Her savings were barely enough for 2 months. Friends? They stopped calling long ago, everyone was too busy climbing their own ladders. She felt invisible. Forgotten. For 3 weeks, her life was a blur of rejection emails and sleepless nights. She applied to job after job, only to hear the same empty phrases. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. Each word cut like glass. And then, came the day she almost gave up. Emily was sitting at a small cafe, clutching a cold cup of coffee, when she overheard 2 women at the next table. You know what's trending now? Online businesses. People are making thousands from home. Those words, they hit her like a spark in the dark. She opened her laptop right there, hands trembling, and started researching. Dropshipping. Digital marketing. Social media growth. It felt overwhelming, like staring at a mountain from the bottom. But deep inside, something whispered. You've built dreams before. You can build again. For days, she devoured tutorials, read articles, and watched every video she could find. At first, it was chaos, too much information, too many failures. Her first online store. A disaster. Her first ad campaign. Zero sales. She cried more than once. She thought about quitting every single day. But every time doubt knocked, she remembered the faces in that office. The smirks. The whispers. And she whispered back. I will not give them this victory. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, Emily learned. She made mistakes, fixed them, and made new ones. But each failure taught her something. Then, one night at 2 a.m., as she sat in her pajamas at her tiny desk, an email popped up. Congratulations. You made your first sale. She stared at the screen, tears flooding her eyes. It wasn't much, just a $29 order. But to Emily, it felt like a miracle. Proof that she could rise again. From that day on, everything changed. The black clouds in her life began to fade. Her nights of despair turned into nights of planning. And for the first time in months, Emily felt something powerful. Hope. But she had no idea, her story was just getting started. Because what came next, would shock everyone who doubted her. Failure. That word became Emily's shadow. It wasn't just losing her job. It was everything after. Life turned into one long chain of disappointments. She tried to make things better, she really did. But it felt like the universe had flipped a coin, and she always got the wrong side. When she woke up in the mornings, the silence in her apartment felt heavier than ever. She made lists of things to do, small goals: clean the house, fix the leaking sink, call mom, but even those things seemed to collapse. The sink broke worse than before. The groceries spoiled because she forgot to plug the fridge back in. Even her favorite mug shattered one morning, as if mocking her. And then came the interviews. 3, 4, 5 of them. Each one ended with the same words. Thank you for your time. We'll be in touch. But they never were. Emily started avoiding her phone. She couldn't stand the notifications, the bills, the late fees, the rejection emails. She tried to cook to distract herself, but burned every meal. She tried to exercise, but tripped on the mat and twisted her ankle. It felt like fate was against her. Like she was cursed. One night, after another long day of nothing, she stood in her tiny kitchen staring at an empty plate. She thought about how easy it would be to quit. To just stop trying. Her chest felt heavy, her hands cold. But then, something broke inside her, not like glass, but like chains. She looked around at the mess, the unpaid bills, the shattered mug, and whispered through tears. Enough. This is not who I am. The next morning, Emily did something different. She walked to the library. No distractions, no excuses, just her and a notebook. She wrote down one sentence. What can I do with what I have? And for the first time in weeks, her mind lit up with ideas. She remembered her love for design, for organizing things beautifully. She had no money for a big business, no investors, but she had time, a laptop, and the will to learn. That night, she started small, making simple planners and templates for social media. No one noticed at first. Days passed, nothing sold. But Emily refused to quit. And then, it happened again. A sound she'll never forget: you made a sale. $4.99, it wasn't much, but it was something. A sign. For the first time in months, Emily smiled and whispered to herself. This is the first brick. She didn't know it yet, but this tiny win would lead her to something so big, it would make the people who broke her wish they never had. The real story was only beginning. They say success comes slowly, and then all at once. But for Emily, it didn't feel that way in the beginning. It felt like an endless uphill battle. For weeks after her first tiny win, that $4.99 sale, nothing big happened. She kept creating designs, posting them online, and waiting, hoping. Days turned into nights, and her old laptop never seemed to stop buzzing. It overheated so badly that sometimes she placed ice packs underneath it, whispering, "Please, just hold on a little longer." Emily worked like a woman possessed. She woke up before sunrise, checked emails with sleepy eyes, and fell asleep with her phone in her hand. She stopped watching TV. Stopped scrolling aimlessly through social media. Every second mattered now. But life didn't magically become easy. There were days when everything went wrong. One day, a customer left a brutal review on her product. "Not what I expected. Waste of money." Those words crushed her. For hours, she stared at the screen, questioning everything. Maybe they were right about me. Maybe I'm not good enough. But deep down, something kept whispering, "Try again." So she did. She redesigned everything. Studied color theory, fonts, layouts. Took free courses until her brain felt like it would explode. At night, when her friends were out having fun, Emily sat in that tiny apartment, her hair in a messy bun, drinking cold coffee because she couldn't afford fresh beans every day. And then, one evening, it happened again. Her phone buzzed. "You made a sale." She smiled, thinking it was a fluke. But then another notification came. And another. 10 sales in one day. Then 20. Emily jumped up from her chair, laughing and crying all at once. She danced in that cramped kitchen with tears streaming down her cheeks, whispering, "This is real. This is finally real." From that day, the numbers kept climbing. $100 in a week. $500 the next. Then, something she hadn't seen in months, 4 digits in her bank account. But success didn't erase the struggle. Her laptop crashed during a big order. The Wi-Fi went down during a client meeting, and she ran to the nearest cafe in the rain, laptop tucked under her coat like a newborn baby. There were nights she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering if all this stress was worth it. But every time doubt knocked, Emily remembered that day in the HR office. The smirks. The whispers. The way they tossed her out like trash. And she whispered back, "Watch me." 3 months later, Emily logged into her account and froze. $5,237. Her hands shook as she took a screenshot, whispering through tears. "I'm not broken. I never was." She paid her bills. Cleared her debts. Even bought herself a new laptop, not the most expensive one, but new, shiny, and hers. For the first time in months, she ordered pizza without guilt. Lit a candle in her little apartment. And as she sat there, eating a slice, she smiled and said aloud, "This is just the beginning." Because Emily didn't just want money. She wanted freedom. She wanted to build something so big that the world, and the people who tried to break her, would never forget her name. And very soon, they wouldn't. Because the next chapter of Emily's story would shock everyone who ever doubted her. Success. It's the word everyone dreams of, but no one really understands how much it costs. Emily thought that when success came, life would finally feel easy. She was wrong. It began slowly. A few orders here and there. Then dozens. And then, that number on her screen that made her heart skip a beat. $10,000. $10,000. More money than she'd ever seen in one place. More than 2 months' salary at her old job. Emily stared at her account, unable to breathe. She covered her mouth, tears burning her eyes. After everything, the humiliation, the sleepless nights, the endless rejections, here it was. Proof that she wasn't a failure. She whispered through the sobs. You did it, Emily. You did it. But what she didn't know was that success is heavy. Because with every dollar came a new storm. Her phone never stopped buzzing. Emails. Notifications. Orders. Some messages were sweet. Your designs are amazing. Thank you for making this. But then came the others, like daggers through her chest. Overpriced trash. Scammer. And the worst. You'll never last. People like you never do. Every hateful word stuck like glue, echoing in her head when she tried to sleep. Sometimes, she wanted to reply, to scream, to defend herself. But instead, she took a deep breath and whispered. Prove them wrong. So she did. Emily pushed harder than ever. She read business books until 3 a.m. Watched marketing tutorials on YouTube while eating cold noodles. Her old laptop wheezed like an old man, freezing during uploads, so she prayed over it every night. Please don't die on me now. The pressure didn't stop. She started making real money, $100 a day, then $500, then more, but the work consumed her. Her tiny apartment looked like a battlefield, piles of papers, sticky notes on every wall, empty coffee mugs scattered like fallen soldiers. Her friends invited her out. She said no every time. She barely ate. Slept on the couch because her bed was buried under packaging boxes. And yet, she couldn't stop. Because deep inside, Emily wasn't chasing money. She was chasing redemption. She remembered every whisper in that office, every smirk as she packed her box. And every time exhaustion hit, those memories lit a fire in her chest. Then one morning, while sipping lukewarm coffee, an email popped up. The subject line made her freeze. Partnership proposal, $50,000 contract. Her eyes widened. Her hands shook so hard she nearly spilled the coffee. She opened the email and read it once. Twice. 3 times. It was real. A major brand wanted her. $50,000. Emily laughed and cried all at once, clutching her face with both hands. This can't be real. She signed that contract with trembling fingers. In that moment, she wasn't the woman who got fired. She wasn't the one who cried over rejection emails. She was a businesswoman. A creator. A fighter. But success wasn't done testing her. Big contracts meant bigger problems. Orders piled up faster than her tiny team could handle. She hired 2 virtual assistants. Then 3. Learned how to delegate. Learned how to lead. And when things broke, and they did, she learned to fix them fast. Some nights, she collapsed on the couch, her whole body screaming for rest. Her hands shook from too much caffeine and too little sleep. She asked herself, is this worth it? Is this what freedom feels like? But then she'd open her account and see the numbers. Or read a message from a client saying, your work changed my business. And she'd whisper the same answer every time. Yes. Every second of this is worth it. 3 months after signing that deal, Emily checked her earnings and froze. 6 figures. More money than she ever dreamed possible. She sat there in silence, tears streaming down her face, whispering. I'm not broken. I never was. Emily had built something no one could take away from her. Something stronger than any job title. And soon, the world that once rejected her would come knocking. Because fate wasn't done with her yet. The same company that humiliated her was about to call, not to fire her this time, but to beg for her partnership. And when that moment came, Emily would be ready. Because true power isn't given. It's built. Brick by brick. Failure by failure. Until the world can't ignore you anymore. Life has a strange way of bringing us back to the places we swore we'd never return to. For Emily, that day came on a sunny morning, almost a year after the worst day of her life. Her phone buzzed with an email. The subject line froze her in place. Partnership inquiry, from Sterling and Company. Her old company. The same one that broke her. Emily stared at the screen, her heart pounding. For a moment, all the old feelings came rushing back, the humiliation, the whispers, the way they made her pack her life into a cardboard box. She took a deep breath, whispered to herself. Stay calm. You're not that woman anymore. She opened the email. They wanted her services. Desperately. Their sales were dropping, and her company, the one they didn't believe she could build, was dominating the market. Emily almost laughed. Almost. But instead, she closed her eyes and remembered something. This wasn't about revenge. It was about respect. 3 days later, she walked into the same building that once felt like a prison. But this time, she wasn't wearing fear. She wore confidence. A tailored suit. Red lipstick. And an aura that made heads turn as soon as she stepped inside. The receptionist looked up, startled. Can I help you? Emily smiled. Yes. Tell Mr. Walker that Emily Carter is here for the 10 a.m. meeting. The same HR manager who once said, "This isn't working out," now stood to shake her hand. His smile was too wide, too fake. Emily. It's great to see you again. She met his eyes and said softly. Yes. It is. The meeting room was the same. The long glass table. The leather chairs. But everything else had changed, because Emily wasn't the one sitting small and broken at the end of the table anymore. Now, she sat at the head. They pitched their idea nervously, explaining why they needed her. How impressed they were by her success. How much they admired her brand. Emily listened in silence, every word like music. When they finished, she folded her hands, leaned forward, and said, "I'll consider the partnership. But my terms are non-negotiable." They nodded eagerly. "Of course, anything you need." Emily smiled. Not out of spite, but out of strength. Because this wasn't about making them beg. It was about proving, to herself and to everyone watching, that failure is never the end. As she walked out of that building, sunlight hit her face. The same street where she once stood in the rain with a box of broken dreams now felt like the start of an empire. People whispered her name as she passed. But this time, not with pity. With respect. Emily stopped for a moment, looked up at the sky, and whispered. "Thank you for breaking me. Because without that, I would have never learned how strong I really am. The truth is, life will knock you down. People will judge you. They'll whisper. They'll laugh. But remember this. You are not their words. You are not their doubts. You are what you choose to rise from." Emily's story isn't just about success. It's about every person who has ever been told, "You can't." Because sometimes, the greatest revenge is not revenge at all. It's becoming so good, so strong, so unshakable, that the world has no choice but to respect you. So next time they laugh at you, let them. One day, they'll remember your name.